Welcome to the most famous place in the whole of Russia, Red Square. What's up guys, welcome to another video here in Moscow. Today I'm in Red Square. You can see St. Basils Cathedral behind me right there and all the rest of the famous buildings over here. Today I want to talk about Red Square itself. I've taken many videos here, but I've never really talked about what you can find here and what Red Square actually is. For a start, Red Square is considered mile zero in Russia. Everything is measured from Red Square. All roads in Moscow go out of Red Square to meet the various highways which you can take to go all around the country. This really is the center of the country and the center of Moscow. So where does the name Red Square come from? Most foreigners have two different theories. The first one is purely due to the colour of the walls here at the Kremlin, the colour of the walls being a reddish colour. The other theory I've heard from foreigners is due to communism, and the Soviet Union had a red flag and the colour red was everywhere. It's the colour most linked to communism. However, both of those are wrong. The name Red Square comes from a strange thing in the Russian language. Red in Russian is krasny. This is called krasnaya ploshchad, krasnaya meaning red. In the past, krasnaya also meant another word, krasivaya. Krasivaya means beautiful. So in the past, when this was being named, they called it Beautiful Square, krasnaya ploshchad. But nowadays, krasnaya means red. So you'll see all over Russia, especially in some of the ancient capitals like Suzdal, you'll see the name, you'll see krasny, you'll see red, when actually, once upon a time, it meant beautiful. So no, this is not Red Square really, it's actually Beautiful Square. So today I'm going to take a walk around Red Square. I'm going to show you all of the main buildings and give you a little description about what they all are and the history of them and stuff like that. It won't be too long because each individual building here could have a whole video dedicated to it. For example, St. Basil's here and the Kremlin over here, they are steeped in history. So I'm going to give a little summary of each individual building on Red Square, and hopefully you guys who maybe know absolutely nothing about this place can learn a little bit of something. Let's go take a look. So the first thing to see when you come to Red Square for the first time, it's the thing that first took my breath away, is St. Basils Cathedral, this behind me. St. Basils Cathedral is the most popular, the most famous image from the whole of Russia. And often if you see on the news something to do with Russian politics, this is one of the images you're going to see. It's a stereotypical Russian image. St. Basils Cathedral was built in 1561 on the burial place of St. Basil himself. This cathedral is said to be so beautiful that Ivan the Terrible, once this was completed, blinded the eyes of the architect so he could never make anything so beautiful. Although many people say this is complete nonsense. The church was completely secularized in 1929 at the start of the Soviet Union. And nowadays it's still secular and it's owned not by the church but by the Russian Federation. It's actually part of the State Historical Museum, and for a small fee, any tourist can go inside and take a look around. Right next to St. Basils Cathedral is the Kremlin. The Kremlin, as I'm sure you all know, is a fortress which serves at the moment as the residence for the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. It has inside it 4 palaces and 5 cathedrals. One of those palaces is the Great Kremlin Palace, which originally was the Moscow residence of the Tsar of all Russia. The Kremlin is also available to visit as a tourist, and you can go walk around in the grounds and go in some of the buildings. Something else I highly recommend for anyone coming to visit Moscow. Right in front of the Kremlin is the Mausoleum of Lenin. When the leader of the Soviet Union, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, died, his body was embalmed, and since 1924 it's been almost continuously on display in the same building in that mausoleum in front of the Kremlin. It's also open for tourists, and if you get in the line at the right times, anyone can go inside and take a look at his body. Since the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, there's been lots of talk about moving Lenin's body from outside on Red Square to inside the Kremlin, where all the other leaders of the former Soviet Union are buried. There's been talk about this every single year. It always seems to come up in the Duma, but as of yet, nothing has happened, and my prediction is nothing will happen for quite some time. Directly next to the Kremlin is the State Historic Museum. The State Historic Museum was founded in 1872 and hosts artifacts from the entire time of Russia, from the prehistoric tribes which used to occupy this land before the idea of Russia was born, all the way until the Romanov Tsar dynasty. It's well worth a visit, and it's not so expensive, and it's right here on Red Square. Directly next to the State Historic Museum is Kazan Cathedral. Kazan Cathedral is in Red Square, but it's not the original one. The original one was destroyed by Joseph Stalin in the 1920s in order to make way for tanks and military parades into Red Square. It was deemed that the cathedral blocked the route. Following the fall of the Soviet Union in the 1990s, it was decided to rebuild the old Kazan Cathedral to the same specifications, and in 1993 it was finally rebuilt, and it's in the exact same place as the old one was. The current structure you see today is modelled after the old one, but is in fact barely 30 years old. The final building you see here behind me on Red Square is this one here, GUM, Главный универсальный магазин, main universal store. It's called this because it sells absolutely everything. It's basically a huge department store. GUM wasn't always called Главный универсальный магазин. During the Soviet Union, it was called Государственный универсальный магазин. Государственный means state. The state was removed and replaced by Glavny following the fall of the Soviet Union. When it got moved from state hands into private hands, it's now owned by the company behind Bosco. So, because of that, it's now privately run and privately owned. For me, in my opinion, GUM is the most beautiful shopping centre in the world. Alright guys, that's it. Thank you so much for getting to the end of this video. I hope you learned something today about Red Square, and if you have any other questions about here and some of the beautiful buildings in Red Square, I would love it if you put a question in the comments and I'll try and answer as many as I can. If you like this video, please give it a like, and if you'd like to see more videos about Moscow, about other cities in Russia, and about my life in Russia as a whole, please give me a subscription. I really appreciate it. Thank you and goodbye.